All right, so all this trans stuff is kind of making me crazy, and I don't know if people need to be educated or like slapped in the face. So here goes the educated piece. So I've got a trans kid. I run an LGBTQ resource center, and we got a lot of trans kids in there too. And the thing the number one point I like to drive home with people is to Google the suicide rate of our trans youth. So it's more than half of our trans folks are contemplating suicide. And so when that number is so stupid high, why would anyone in their right mind target the people that need our support most? Like, it just makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense. Like, these are the people that need our arms wrapped around them and to feel loved and supported. So that's where I'd start. And then if you really don't know anything about trans people, then let's continue the journey a little bit further, right? So if we're looking at like sex and gender, I know everybody kind of feels that these are the same category, but they're not. It's two categories. So sex is, what you were born with, right? The parts you were born with. Do you have ovaries? Do you have testes? Do you have a penis, a vagina, breasts? Like what are the chromosomes you're born with? All that kind of stuff, right? And then gender is how you show up in the world. Gender is there are societal norms for gender, right? Women are supposed to do X, men are supposed to do Y. And then there's a spectrum of that, right? Like, folks are deciding to show up, like, I don't subscribe to the societal norms of that prescribed gender, right? Like, I don't want to be popping out a bunch of babies and doing all this kind of stuff in these traditional female roles, let's say. Or I don't want to do these traditional male roles. I don't want to go hunting and eat meat and be all these things. I want to be something else, right? I don't subscribe to these boxes that society has put me in. And a lot of folks don't subscribe to those boxes anyway, so that's not unusual, okay? A lot of people are already finding their way in on this gender spectrum to find what works for them. But as we're kind of taking these in kind of like overlays, I want to go back to sex for a second, because that seems very black and white to a lot of people, right? Like, either you're born with a penis, or you're born with a vagina, or you're born with these chromosomes. But I just want to zoom out for a second. There's a whole nother category of folks who are born intersex. And that's, between 1,500 and 2,000 babies are born that way. So it's about 2% of the population. Between 1.5% and 2% of the population are born intersex. And what that means is that they're born with, let's say, they could have an extra chromosome. That could be an XXY. They could have both a uterus and testes. They could have both a penis and a vagina. So it shows up in these different kind of ways, right? And so as folks are like maybe screaming about, the youth not getting surgeries, like, mind your fucking business, man. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't know if they've been born intersex or in a different way. Like, that is between them and their healthcare provider, and not somebody who really has no idea what they're experiencing in the day-to-day. But I say all that to say, we've got about 350 million people in the United States. And if we're looking at the amount of people that are just born intersex, not even talking trans, right? Just intersex who might require some kind of surgery of some kind. There's about 7 million people in the United States right now who are intersex and would be requiring some kind of treatment at that age. And then who knows, like, and they can delay treatment. They don't have to get it when they're a child. They can get it later, This is a very intimate discussion with that human and their healthcare provider, right? Like, and that's none of our fucking business. It's their business to figure out how they best want to navigate through that. And so then, there's all these different layers, and people are very just quick to be like, they shouldn't be in sports, or they shouldn't be that. Like, it's much more complex than that. And to go back to my original point of, like, have you checked the suicide rate? Like, if you had any goddamn sense, and if you cared about people at all, you would be walking through this with a genuine, maybe curiosity, to like learn what is actually happening, boots on the ground. What are the actual needs of this population? What does the data say? What treatments are actually working to help them show up and live? And fucking live. Oh my God, fucking live. So I get it. If you're confused about trans and all these stuff, there's like a lot of layers, and I get that, right? Because if all you're seeing, if you think that like all drag queens are trans and they're not, drag is a performance, but is an art form. But like, if you're just seeing what you see on TV, I get it. Like, that's confusing. But that's why we're not fucking doctors. That's why our kids have doctors to help guide them through these things, right? They've got mental health clinicians to help them guide through that part of their lives. They've got endocrinologists and primary care physicians to help guide them through this very real, intimate discussion on what needs are best for that human. So just get out of their fucking way, man. Like, it's not a subject that you need to be diving in on or giving your 2 cents on when you don't fucking know what you're talking about. And if you want to know, you can easily look it up. This is like the information age. I'm sitting here ranting on this video, but guess what you could do? You could just figure it out. Or at the very least, Google the suicide rate and have some goddamn compassion and knowing that you may be walking outside of your depth. So, okay. Anyway, I love my kid. I love all of our trans kids that come through our center. I love all trans people. I love all fucking people. And I hope that you are able to walk through your day, your life, through this era with a little more fucking compassion, all right? And know when you're walking way outside your fucking pay grade, and figure out how you can actually help people and love them, meet them where they're at, so we can move forward together. All right. Love you.